So today I would like to talk about some book to movie adaptations, and specifically books I haven't read yet. So as a general rule, I like to read the book and then watch the movie. I will make some exceptions if it's just something that I don't think I'm ever going to want to read, but I still want to know the story, or if I just get impatient and go, no, I'm watching the movie. An example where that happened was Never Let Me Go, and I really enjoyed that movie, and then reading the book I was like, eh, which I think was partly because I already knew the story, but also just didn't find that execution of it that special. So the following books, I have a whole stack here of books that I want to read ASAP so I can watch their adaptations, whether it's movie or TV show. Okay, in no particular order, I'm going to start with I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. So this is something I want to read anyway, and I actually started reading it at the library, but then had to return it unfortunately, so I just get really kind of cozy, warm vibes from this. So I was going to read it in winter, but oopsie, we're nearly into summer. But yeah, I would like to read this. This is a classic I think I can get on board with, and I found, I'm not sure if it's either a movie or a TV show on Amazon Prime, but I Capture the Castle. Alright, the next is Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. This is a case where I actually watched the first episode on Netflix, and I was really intrigued, and then I kept falling asleep trying to continue it. Not because it was bad, I was just not picking the right time to watch it because I was just sleepy. So I've decided, okay, leave it there. I'm going to read this and then I can watch it. And obviously Handmaid's Tale is fantastic. I know this isn't the same, but this looks like it has a lot of intrigue and I can't wait. It is quite chunky though. Same with I Capture the Castle actually. The next one's a big one that's been on many TBRs for readathons that I still haven't gotten to, and that is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. And I have sneakily read the first little bit and I'm already like, oh, I love this. So I think it's more just because I know I'm gonna love it, I'm just kind of waiting for the right time, but also I know it's gonna be sad, so I don't always want to be sad. So we'll see when I get to this. I'm hoping by the end of the year, but I do have a lot of other things I'd like to get to as well. Next we have All the Light We Cannot See, keeping in vein with kind of World War II books. It is a period of history I find utterly fascinating, even if it is morbid. It's the same with serial killers. It's just a bit of a fascination. And I think it's more just, it's still just so hard to grasp that happened, and the mentality of some of the people at the time, and how helpless so many how helpless so many people were to do anything, or just their lack of wanting to. It's a very complicated thing, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything, but it's just hard to look at that and not go just don't. Blind person, not in World War II. That's all I know about this. And that's kind of all I want to know. Oh my god, what is on this? Oh my god. The cover's actually flaking off. Good god. Okay, look, I did get this for a bargain price, so I guess I can live with that, but that makes me really sad. Alright, next up we have The Light Between Oceans. So I keep seeing this on Netflix, it's on my list, and I keep wanting to be just watch it, but I'm no. And then I finally found this cheap, and it's in a tall book, which I love the tall ones because they just flop really good. So once you a chunk through, you can just lay it flat and read it. Plus it's just not as dense, it's more floppy, and I like that. So yeah, it's ooh, this is actually earlier than I thought. It's in the mid to late 1920s, and it's set in Australia, and this couple find a kid and adopt it. At least that's my understanding of it. So in general, Australian stories, whether they be movies or books, don't tend to hold my interest, which I feel bad, but on the other hand, I should just read what I like. So sorry, I'm hoping this will be good. I'm not actually sure if the movie's out for this one, but The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I'd kind of seen it around and didn't know what it was, and then I saw the trailer, and then I picked this up for $5. So you best believe I'm going to be reading this before I see it, so it might be a while till I get to it, but I'm going to make it a priority to read this before I watch the movie. And I've heard good things about this, and Donna Tartt in general, and Donna Tartt in general. So if I like this, I might check out The Secret History because that sounds intriguing to me also. Next is The Magicians by Lev Grossman. So magic school, awesome fun, and there's an Amazon Prime TV show. So this is the thing, when it's a series, I feel like I need to read the whole series before I watch the show, because oftentimes they don't like to go at the same pace, which I guess makes sense. But if there's like a big reveal or a plot point that's meant to happen later, like it's structured differently, I could get spoiled. That's a lot of the main reason. I'm like, I just want to like read it so I don't get spoiled, because I feel like the book is always so much more nuanced and in-depth because we can be inside their head. And even if we're not inside their head, like the author is, it's guiding us and telling us the specific things we need to know. Film does that too, but I find it a lot more subtle, and oftentimes the more artsy, lingering shots kind of films, I just get a bit confused and I don't really know where they're pointing me. Okay, next I have Desert Flower. So this is actually my mum's book, and I think she like got it off someone else. And I believe this is actually like a true story memoir kind of thing about a survivor of female genital mutilation. So like this is not something I'm like, yay, fun, let's read it. But I'm also like, part of me just needs to know. And because that's just horrifying to me. And I cannot fathom why it is a thing and how and why, if it has to be done, why it's not done sanitary with a doctor, because I've heard stories that people have problems with having children and urinating, and it's just... Alright, the next is another book of my mother's that I'm going to borrow, which is Room. So this is already like super intriguing, and I've had so many chances to read this and just haven't. But so it's basically a mother and her young child stuck in a room. They've been kidnapped. I feel like the kid might have been born in captivity, like doesn't know any outside world. And yeah, I feel like it's going to be from the kid's perspective, and my heart's going to break. But I'm hoping it's going to be a good ending. Yeah, there's a movie for this, for sure. Next we're going back into some more classics. So we have The Great Gatsby. I didn't read many classics at school at all. They kind of pick obscure different things. Like we read a story about a Muslim girl in high school. I read like a travel book in college. The only ones I really remember was like Of Mice and Men, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which again isn't one of the big ones. Other than that, nothing else really. Like I didn't read To Kill a Mockingbird, Great Gatsby, Catcher in the Rye, any of that at school. Ah! Moth. So this is tiny, and I'm more interested in the Leonardo DiCaprio version, which I know came out like 5 years ago? Shit, 5 years ago. Somewhere around there. And yeah, I've heard mixed things, and I know I struggle with classics, but like I need to know, and I kind of dig this cover. Next we have Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I went and bought all her books because they were ridiculously cheap, and they're all matching with these vintage classics editions, and they're just really glossy and beautiful. So I know that this goes over one day, and it's like an engagement party or like a woman that's engaged to be married. Yeah, it just sounds like it's going to be a very internalized book, more about like what her psychology is. But yeah, there's a movie of this I think on Amazon Prime. Next I have Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. This is kind of a movie I kind of like heard of a lot, and I was like, what's that? And then I found out it was a book, and I got it. And it's kind of the thing where I'm like, I don't know if this is something I'm actually going to enjoy at 22 years old, because this is 13 years old, this book. Also, it's very small. I feel like it's going to give me a little bit of Perks of Being a Wallflower vibes, just because it's like got music in it, from what I can tell. Next I have How I Live Now by Meg Rosoff. So I didn't even know this was a book until I heard of the movie with Saoirse Ronan. Might have ruined her name a bit, but I know it's not Sayors, how I was saying it for a long time. So this is kind of like apocalyptic, yeah, girl apocalypse stuff. Again, really short. So, oh, it's her debut, so that's cool. Next one is 5 Feet Apart. I adore this cover. I feel like it is very heavily based on Fault in Our Stars, but that's fine. Again, it's just I need to like find the right time and mood to be in for this one. And I also don't have like immediate access to the film, so that's not really pushing me any quicker. I know a lot of people hold this, but I don't know if many people have read it yet. So if you've read it, let me know. Let me know if it's any good. Next, I have Misery by Stephen King. I've only read Carrie and Sleeping Beauties previously, both which didn't really, you know, take over my mind. I was not my favourite. But this premise sounds very interesting to me, especially as a reader. If you don't know, there is this woman who kidnaps her author, ties him up, tortures him to write the next book. Which I feel like we've all felt that at a certain time, where you've finished a book and it's so good, and then you have to wait a year. But sometimes it's even like pushed back, like further than that. Like real life substitute, I feel like would be George R.R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss, because, guys, be prompt, please. Next is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. So I have read the Chaos Walking trilogy and The Rest of Us Just Live Here, so I know I kind of like his writing already. And this was kind of on my radar before I even knew there was a movie, but now it's like especially like, hey, you can enjoy the story in 2 ways, or at least possibly enjoy the story in 2 ways. So yes, and again, this is like a book fair buy, so like $3, pff, bloody beaut. And the last one I have is Every Day by David Levitan. And like this is another one that was on my radar, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah. But then there was a movie, and I'm like, okay, maybe I actually will check it out. You know? Know what I mean? I don't know if it's going to be my thing, and I think I'll just try it anyway. And I don't think I'd continue with the other books in this like series, if it is like a straight up series. But you know, it really just depends on my experience reading it. So I just want to give it a fair shot and not read it when I don't feel like this kind of a read. So yeah, those are pretty much it. 17 books. So maybe next year I will just pick like 2 months, maybe not even back to back, to like read those. Yeah. Okay, please let me know if you have read these books, if you watched the movie first, if you watched it vice versa, which movies just suck and I can miss, or which books suck and I can miss. Just let me know. Okay. Bye!